So, yeah. I feel a little bit weird. I'm not quite sure what it's about. I guess I'm losing weight. I lost a lot of weight here. Um, but I'm on this preface of The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. Okay, so I'm just going to jump right in. I'm looking at my camera parameters to make sure everything's getting picked up. I guess it is. Yeah, I think it is. The design of the present edition is partly corrective. Partly supplementary, corrective by notes, which point out it is hoped in a perfectly candid and dispassionate spirit with no desire but to establish the truth, such inaccuracy or misstatements as may have been detected, particularly with regard to Christianity, and which thus, with the previous caution, may counteract to a considerable extent the unfair and unfavorable impression created against rational religion. Christianity is rational. It's a scam, dude. It's like Egypt. The same thing the Egyptians were doing. Oh, when you die, there's going to be this other world, and you're going to have a mansion. You're going to need all this stuff. And pay us, yeah. So, give us money. We'll embalm you. And then there's going to be bodily resurrection or whatever. So you don't want your remains to be scattered, So spend. It's all a scam. Yeah. No. You're not going to bodily resurrect. Come on, you really believe that? All right. So, rational religion. Supplementary by adding such additional information as the editor's reading may have been able to furnish from original documents or books not accessible at the time when Gibbon wrote. All right. The work originated in the editor's habit of noting on the margin of his copy of Gibbon references to such authors as had discovered errors or thrown new light on the subjects treated by Gibbon. These had grown to some extent and seemed to him likely to be of use to others. The annotations of M. Guizot, Monsieur Guizot, also appeared to him worthy of being better English public than they were likely to be, as appended to the French translation. The chief works from which the editor has derived his materials are: 1. The French translation, with notes by M. Guizot, Monsieur Guizot, second edition, Paris, 1828. The editor has translated almost all the notes of this guy, Monsieur Guizot. Where he has not altogether agreed with him, his respect for the learning and judgment of that writer has in general induced him to retain the statement from which he has ventured to differ with on which he formed his own opinion. In the notes on Christianity, he has retained all those of Monsieur Guizot, with his own, from the conviction that on such a subject, to many, the authority of a French statesman, a Protestant, and a rational and sincere Christian would appear more independent and unbiased, and therefore be more commanding than that of an English clergyman. The editor has not scrupled to transfer the notes of Monsieur Guizot to the present work. The well-known zeal for knowledge displayed in all the writings of that distinguished historian has led to the natural inference that he would not be displeased at the attempt to make them of use to the English readers of Gibbon. The notes of Monsieur Guizot are signed with the letter G. 2. The German translation with the notes of Wenck. Unfortunately, this learned translator died after having completed only the first volume. The rest of the work was executed by a very inferior hand. The notes of Vinck are extremely valuable. Many of them have been adopted by Monsieur Guizot. They are distinguished by the letter W. The editor regrets that he has not, this is a note, the editor regrets that he's not been able to find the Italian translation mentioned by Gibbon himself with some respect. It is not in our great libraries, the museum, or the Bodleian. He has never found any bookseller in London who has seen it. 3. The new edition of Lebeau's Histoire du Bas Empire, History du Bas Empire, with notes by Monsieur Saint Martin and Monsieur Brosset. That distinguished Armenian scholar, Monsieur Saint Martin, now unhappily deceased, had added much information from Oriental writers, particularly from those of Armenia. That's pretty cool. As well as from more general sources. Many of his observations have been found as applicable to the work of Gibbon as to that of Lebeau. 4. The editor has consulted the various answers made to Gibbon on the first appearance of his work. He must confess with little profit. They were, in general, hastily compiled by inferior and now forgotten writers, with the exception of Bishop Watson, whose able apology is rather a general argument than an examination of misstatements. The name of Milner stands higher with a certain class of readers, but will not carry much weight with the severe investigator of history. 5. Some few classical works and fragments have come to light since the appearance of Gibbon's history and have been noticed in their respective places. And much use has been made in the latter volumes, particularly of the increase to our stores of Oriental literature. The editor cannot indeed pretend to have followed his author in these gleanings over the whole vast field of his inquiries. He may have overlooked or may not have been able to command some works which might have thrown still further light on these subjects, but he trusts that what he has adduced will be of use to the student of historic truth. The editor would further observe that with regard to some other objectionable passages which do not involve misstatement or inaccuracy, he has intentionally abstained from directing particular attention towards them by any special protest. The editor's notes are marked M. A considerable part of the quotations, some of which in the later editions had fallen into great confusion, have been verified and have been corrected by the latest and best editions of the authors. June 1845. Oh, it's not that long ago. Okay. 10 more years. Or 20 more years it'll be 200 years. In this new edition, the text and the notes have been carefully revised, the latter by the editor. Some additional notes have been subjoined, distinguished by signature M, 1845. Preface of the author. Okay, this is Gibbon. It is not my intention to detain the reader by expatiating on the variety or the importance of the subject which I have undertaken to treat, since the merit of the choice would serve to render the weakness of the execution still more apparent, and still less excusable. But as I have presumed to lay before the public a first volume, only one of the history of the decline and fall of the Roman Empire, it will perhaps be expected that I should explain in a few words the nature and limits of my general plan. There's a note. The first volume of the Quarto, which contained the first 16 chapters. That's what he's talking about. The first volume only as the 16 first chapters is actually exact. All right. I think that they've got the notes in line, which I love. I really love that. The memorable series of revolutions, which in the course of about 13 centuries gradually undermined and at length destroyed the solid fabric of human greatness, may with some propriety be divided into three following periods. Human greatness. That's what they call Rome. Garbage. The first of these periods may be traced from the age of Trajan. Some people say Tryon, and some people say age of Trajan and the Antonines. When the Roman monarchy, having attained its full strength and maturity, began to verge towards its decline. How you doing there, champ? And will extend to the subversion of the Western Empire by the barbarians of Germany and Scythia. I always said Scythia because sides. The rude ancestors of the most polished nations of modern Europe. This extraordinary revolution, which subjected Rome to the power of a Gothic conqueror, was completed about the beginning of the 6th century. I wonder, I don't remember, and it seems like I've read this or at least listened to the audiobook, but I don't remember his account of the plague of Justinian. So I wonder if it's going to be interesting. All right. The second period of the decline and fall of Rome may be supposed to commence with the reign of Justinian. Here we go, Justinian. I knew it was coming. Right? Who, by his laws as well as by his victories, restored a transient splendor to the Eastern Empire. It will comprehend the invasion of Italy by the Lombards, the conquest of the Asiatic and African provinces by the Arabs, who embraced the religion of Muhammad, the revolt of the Roman people against the feeble princes of Constantinople, and the elevation of Charlemagne, who in the year 800 established the Second or German Empire of the West. 3. The last and longest of these periods includes about 6 centuries and a half from the revival of the Western Empire till the taking of Constantinople by the Turks.
Can you wipe my butt?
Sure! Hold on.
No, press the pause button.